Shocking. A royal guard picked up a phone that should never have been left behind. And the moment he saw the first message, everything inside the palace changed. Hidden backups, secret access codes, and a second intruder turned a simple device into the most explosive discovery of the year. What the guard uncovered next shook the entire monarchy. Like the video, and subscribe for the full story. The early morning quiet of Windsor Castle was unlike any other silence in the world. It did not feel empty nor abandoned. It felt intentional, as if every stone had agreed to hold its breath, waiting for footsteps that carried purpose. In the North Administrative Wing, where only senior staff and royal officials walked, the air carried a faint chill from the courtyard archway. The scent of wet gravel drifted in through the stone corridors, mingling with soft notes of furniture wax. Every sound was measured. Every movement mattered. Sergeant Idran Whitam, 17 years, in the Coldstream Guard, moved with practiced precision through corridor. 2D, he had been reassigned from ceremonial external duty to internal coordination, a position many considered less exciting, less prestigious. But for Idran, it was ideal. The internal wings demanded meticulous attention, careful audits, and absolute honesty. He valued that. He lived by that. His boots carried him forward with steady rhythm, clipboard in hand, as he reviewed the day's internal communications audit schedule. It was routine. Verified that senior royals and registered staff had checked in their crown, issued devices for encryption resets and log verification. Most days, it involved nothing more than confirming signatures and confirming that every device held its rightful place. But near the old brass, cloaks stand outside Queen Camilla's administrative suite. Idran's steps slowed. A small leather phone case rested on the corner of the wooden bench. Gold-trimmed, monogrammed, softly polished. It did not belong here. It did not belong anywhere unattended. He stepped closer. The moment he saw the faint insignia on the flap, his chest tightened. It was Queen Camilla's personal device, not her public unit. Not her work registry phone. Her personal one, and it was unlocked. Idran looked up, and down the corridor. Empty. A trolley had rolled through moments earlier, but no staff remained. The hallway lamps stretched soft golden reflections across the floor. He lifted the phone gently to check the rear emblem. The consort's seal was unmistakable. A royal device, never left. Unattended, was sitting openly on a bench inside a secure wing. That alone was alarming. But when the screen lit up from the motion of his hand, Idran saw something that froze him entirely. A message blinked across the screen for one brief second before it faded. Delete before the guard sees. Idran's breath stalled. Protocol discouraged interacting with any royal's personal device. But when it came to unattended electronics inside secure corridors, protocol demanded action. A device could be compromised. A message could indicate risk. Internal security came before personal boundaries. He tapped the screen once. It came to life, revealing a message thread already open. Idran did not scroll. He did not search. He did not pry beyond the protocol's limit. He simply scanned the visible lines to determine whether the device had been tampered with or contained any immediate threat. But what he read was not a threat. It was something else. Something unnervingly personal. A half-written message sat mid-draft. You cannot leave this here. Delete everything. He must not see the earlier thread. Another message below it. I am serious. The guard is doing the audit today. Clear the chain before he checks the log. Idran's brow furrowed. He checked the sender information. It was not an outsider. It was a palace contact. Someone inside the royal household. He looked again at the bench. The phone had been left carelessly, almost as if someone had dropped it in haste. But the device was not damaged. It had been placed down. Not abandoned. Not forgotten. Placed. Idran stepped back, steadying his breath. Every royal device had built-in tracking logs and access trails. Whatever conversation existed here would be flagged in the next system audit. But someone knew that. Someone had attempted to stop that. He keyed into his shoulder microphone. Internal coordination, this is Sergeant Whitam. I have found an unattended royal device in corridor. 2D personal seal. Unlocked. Immediate protocol assignment requested. The response came with a slight crackle. Copy that, Sergeant. Hold position. Verification en route. But verification did not arrive. Something else did. The corridor lights flickered, once barely noticeable, and the internal lock on the administrative wing door clicked softly. Idran turned. No footsteps. No shadows. No movement. Just a signal. A quiet one. Someone had remotely locked the corridor. Idran stepped into the center of the hall. He looked again at the message thread. Each word carried a tension he recognized from years of guarding powerful people. The fear of discovery. Then another flash notification appeared at the top of the screen. New message received. Idran did not touch the phone, but the preview banner displayed automatically. Where are you? Why is the phone still not cleared? Idran exhaled slowly. He felt the shift. He felt the weight of something hidden, something someone had desperately tried to erase. This was no longer a device issue. This was no longer routine. Someone inside the palace had left something behind, and someone else was watching every second of it. Idran lifted his gaze. The corridor felt colder now, as if the stones themselves braced for what would follow. In 17 years of service, he had learned that nothing inside a royal palace was ever simple. But today, he had stumbled on something that was not simple, at all something that should never have been seen by anyone wearing the red uniform. And now that he had seen it, the silence surrounding him felt intentional. Too intentional. Idran tightened his grip on the device. Whatever this was, it had begun, and he would not walk away from it. The locked corridor felt unusually narrow, as if the castle itself had shifted closer, listening. Sergeant Idran Whitam stood with Queen Camilla's personal device in hand. Aware that he was now part of something far larger than a routine audit, the notification banner that had appeared only seconds earlier still lingered faintly in his mind. Where are you? Why is the phone still not cleared? Someone inside Windsor Castle was waiting. Someone inside was panicking. And someone inside knew exactly what Idran was about to find. He heard footsteps approaching from the far end of the hall. The rhythm was quick, light, and slightly uneven. Not military. Not guard. Not staff. It was the kind of hurried step someone used when trying to appear calm but failing to hide urgency. Idran straightened. He held the phone firmly, but did not hide it. The protocol did not allow secrecy from senior staff. A young administrative aide named Harper Linton rounded the corner. She stopped abruptly when she saw the phone in Idran's hand. Her breath caught, and her eyes locked onto the device with unmistakable recognition. "Sergeant," she said, attempting to steady her voice, "the Queen Consort is requesting her phone." She may have misplaced it earlier. Idran studied her posture. Her shoulders were too stiff, her breathing too quick, her eyes too restless. "This device was found unattended in Corridor 2D, Idran stated. "Unlocked." Harper swallowed. "Yes, she may have set it down for a moment. She is expecting an important call. I can take it to her." Idran did not move. "Miss Linton, you seem unusually eager to retrieve a device that has not been officially logged."
Oh.
Her lips tightened. "Sergeant, with respect the Queen," he did not raise his voice. He did not shift position, but the authority in his tone changed everything. "This device displayed an active message when I picked it up. A message instructing someone to delete content that should already be in the palace logs." Harper froze. Her eyes flicked downward as if trying to think of a lie. Something quick, something believable. But protocol had its own power, and Idran had used it with absolute clarity. He continued. "Why was the device left unlocked in this corridor?" Harper finally exhaled. "Sergeant, please, just give it to me. This is not something you want to be involved in." Idran did not break eye contact. "I am already involved." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You do not understand. There are messages here that were never supposed to exist. The wrong eyes on them could cause a misunderstanding." Idran glanced at the phone again. The thread on the screen revealed the first few lines of a previous exchange. The committee must never see this. Remove all messages from last week. You promised you would clear the chain before the audit. He scrolled only enough to identify threat or risk. He still followed protocol, but even the visible parts were heavy with implication. Harper's voice trembled. Sergeant, please stop scrolling. You do not know what you are opening. Idran looked up. Then tell me. Harper hesitated. Her lips parted, her breath unsteady, but no explanation came. Instead, she reached out to take the phone again. Idran stepped back. The device is now under official security review. It will be returned only after protocol is completed. Her eyes widened with fear. Not distress. Not embarrassment, fear. Sergeant, if you hand that phone to internal coordination, everything will change. Everything. Then it must change, Idran replied calmly. If someone is instructing the deletion of royal communications, protocol requires investigation. She shook her head quickly. You think this is about simple deletion? It is not. It is about something that happened 2 nights ago. Something that the Queen Consort does not want written into the audit logs. Idran's brow tightened. Is Her Majesty in any danger? Harper shook her head. No, not physical danger. But reputational risk. Idran absorbed her words carefully. Explain. Harper opened her mouth again, but stiffened when the corridor's far security light switched from green to amber. The color shift meant only one thing. A senior royal had entered the surveillance radius. The soft, rhythmic footfall of polished shoes echoed around the corner. Prince. William stepped into the corridor. Harper immediately straightened. Idran stood at attention. William's eyes moved from the aide to the phone in Idran's hand. I received a notification that a personal device was logged as unsecured. Sergeant Whitam. Report. Idran held out the phone with disciplined precision. Your Highness. This device was found unlocked and unattended in Corridor 2D. An active message chain displayed content, referencing deletion of communications prior to the audit. Standard protocol required me to secure it. William extended his hand. Idran placed the device in his palm. William scanned the visible thread. His expression changed almost imperceptibly. Just a fractional tightening of the jaw. But Idran noticed it. Harper noticed it. The prince looked at Harper. Why was this device not delivered to the audit desk? Harper's voice wavered. Your Highness, Her Majesty asked me to oversee. She asked you to do nothing of the sort? William interrupted softly. I know her schedule. I know her logs. And I know what she authorized. Harper's face drained of color. William turned to Idran. Sergeant Whitam, you have acted correctly. You will accompany me now. There is something Her Majesty must clarify immediately. Idran nodded. Yes, sir. Harper whispered shakily, please, do not bring this to her. That phone contains things she never intended for. William's voice cut her off. Firm, calm, absolute. Miss Linton, the truth does not collapse under light. It collapses under fear. He turned and gestured for Idran to follow. Idran stepped forward, aware that whatever lay inside that device was no longer just a matter of protocol. It was about to enter the hands of someone who did not run from truth. Someone who asked for it. Someone who understood its cost. And Idran had no idea how deep this truth would go, but the corridor felt colder again. Something unseen had begun shifting, and the next steps would change everything inside Windsor Castle. Prince William walked with a firm, measured pace, and Sergeant Idran Whitam followed a half-step behind him. Aware of the gravity in every footfall, echoing through the long stone corridor, Windsor Castle had always carried a quiet dignity, a noble calm, but the silence now felt charged. Like something beneath the surface had stirred awake. Idran glanced at the device in the prince's hand. The phone seemed almost too small for the weight it carried. The screen remained dark now, as if hiding from its own secrets. William held it with care. Not fear, but with the awareness that personal messages from a senior royal had entered an entirely different realm once a guard read them. At the end of the hall, stood the polished oak doors of Queen Camilla's administrative suite. 2 guards posted on either side straightened instantly when William and Idran approached. One guard glanced at the phone briefly, then quickly away. In a palace, a single glance could speak volumes. William turned to Idran. "You will stand with me when we speak with her." "Yes, sir," Idran replied. William lowered his voice. "I want clarity, not assumptions." "You saw what was visible on the screen?" "Yes, sir." "A message instructing someone to delete communication before security performed audits." William nodded. "And you saw no external threat?" "No apparent threat, sir. Only internal concern." William exhaled, not with frustration, but with thought. He lifted his knuckles and knocked once on the door. A moment later, an aide opened it, bowing slightly. "Your Highness, is the Queen inside?" "Yes, sir. She is reviewing correspondence." William entered, gesturing for Idran to follow. Queen Camilla sat behind her desk, a stack of binders and neatly clipped documents arranged before her. She looked up immediately, reading William's expression with the intuitive understanding of someone who had spent years navigating sensitive moments. "William," she said calmly, "you look as if you have discovered a problem." William walked forward and placed her device on the center of her desk. Camilla's eyes widened a fraction. "Where did you find that?" Idran answered before William could. "Your Majesty, the device was located on a bench in corridor 2D. Unattended, unlocked." Camilla frowned. "Unlocked? That is impossible. I always lock it." William held her gaze. "Then this is a matter that needs attention." Camilla reached forward slowly and touched the phone with a single finger, as if confirming it was real. She turned toward Idran. "Did you access anything?" Idran maintained steady posture. Protocol required minimal review for threat assessment. "Only the visible banner message and partial thread," Camilla inhaled. "So you saw something." William opened the message log and tilted the screen gently toward her. "We all saw this." Camilla read the most recent message. "Delete before the guard sees." She closed her eyes briefly. "I know how this looks. But Idran, you must understand this message is not what you think. There are things that are not meant for audit logs but are not malicious." William studied her quietly. "Then tell us. Transparency is necessary." Camilla clasped her hands together. For the first time since Idran had known her, she looked not guarded, not defensive, but conflicted, caught between roles she had never asked for and truths she could not easily explain. "2 nights ago," she began softly, "I had a private conversation with a close family contact. A conversation regarding a matter that is personal, not political. I asked Harper to remove parts of the discussion from the device because personal matters sometimes become misinterpreted when they enter official review." William raised an eyebrow. "And yet the messages are still there." Camilla nodded slowly. "Because she did not complete the task. She said she needed more time." "I did not know she left the device unattended," Idran asked carefully. "Your Majesty, is there anything within those messages that could compromise the crown or its security?" Camilla shook her head. "No, but there are things that might be misused or misunderstood. There are discussions regarding past family tensions, old grievances, and emotional matters that are not meant to be public." Idran understood. In a royal household, even simple misunderstandings carried enough weight to shift public narratives and cause harm. But William's voice remained firm. Even personal matters must be handled properly, especially when messages discuss deletion. That alone creates suspicion. Camilla exhaled deeply, her voice tired. "You are right." A knock sounded on the door. The aide poked her head in nervously. "Your Majesty, Miss Linton is outside. She says it is urgent." William exchanged a brief glance with Camilla. "Let her in." Harper stepped inside, her face pale, her hands clasped tightly. She bowed quickly. "Your Majesty, I need to explain." Camilla gestured gently. "Speak, Harper." Harper took a shaky breath. "The messages on that phone are not dangerous. They are about an event that occurred before your charity luncheon on Tuesday. You received a message from someone you have been helping quietly, someone who trusted you. They told you about something painful. You replied with comfort, support. It was emotional, sensitive. You feared it could be read out of context. Camilla nodded. Yes, exactly. Harper continued. I told Your Majesty that I would remove the thread from the record before the audit. But I hesitated. I was unsure what was appropriate. I feared deletion would appear worse than leaving it visible. William crossed his arms. So instead you left the device unlocked? Harper looked down. Yes, sir. I panicked. And that mistake has become larger than anything intended. The room fell silent. Then William spoke. Sergeant Whitam, you followed protocol correctly. You did not pursue content beyond visible risk markers. That was the right decision. Idran bowed his head slightly. Thank you, sir. Camille looked at him with sincere appreciation. Sergeant, you acted with integrity. I am grateful. William picked up the phone and locked it with a controlled motion. This matter must be handled privately, with calm understanding. No accusations, no assumptions. We correct the logs and move forward. Camilla nodded. Agreed. Idran stepped back, preparing to leave, but William raised a hand. Sergeant Whitam, I'm afraid this situation is not finished. The visible thread implies more messages exist somewhere else. Idran paused. What do you mean, sir? William turned the device over slowly. There are backups. And if someone feared these messages, someone else may already know they exist. Camilla's expression shifted this. Time with genuine concern. Harper's eyes widened in realization, and Idran felt the weight descend on him again. Something still remained. Unseen, something not on the device. Something deeper, and whatever it was. It had already begun moving. A quiet tension settled across Queen Camilla's administrative suite as the reality of Prince William's words began to sink in. The phone had been found. The visible messages had been read. But the true danger did not lie on the device itself. It lay somewhere else, somewhere deeper, somewhere automated, somewhere untouched. Backups, William repeated, turning the locked phone slowly between his fingers. Every royal device mirrors itself to the crown's internal server. If someone attempted to delete messages, that deletion would not remove the archive copies. Harper swallowed hard. Your Highness? Then everything that was typed, everything that was received, still exists. William finished. Queen Camilla closed her eyes briefly. Not in guilt, not in fear, but in recognition. There were matters within those messages that were deeply private. Conversations meant to comfort someone who needed help, someone outside the public eye. She had wanted protection for them, not secrecy for herself. William placed the phone on the desk. We need to know what was backed up. The palace server keeps encrypted logs, but access to those logs is restricted. Idran already knew where this was going. William turned to him. Sergeant Whitam, you are assigned to internal coordination. You have clearance for system-level audits. You will assist me in reviewing the server logs. Idran nodded. Yes, sir. Camilla watched them closely. William, please remember those exchanges contain sensitive emotional matters. I did not intend to hide wrongdoing. I intended to protect someone's pain. William stepped closer to her. His expression softened slightly. But if someone else inside this palace already knew these messages existed, and if that person saw an opportunity to twist them, we must act quickly. Harper's voice trembled. Sergeant, I swear, I did not tell anyone. I only told Her Majesty that I would handle the messages. I told no one else. Idran believed her. Panic made liars defensive. Harper appeared frightened, not deceptive. But that left a far more unsettling possibility. Someone else had access to the device. Someone else saw the message thread earlier. Someone else triggered the first alert. William lifted the phone. We must check the command logs. They will tell us who attempted to modify or view these messages. Where is the server room located? Camilla asked quietly. Lower East Wing, William replied. Behind the communications archive. Camilla folded her hands. Then go. Bring back clarity. William nodded to Idran. Follow me. They exited through the side door, leaving Harper and Camilla behind in a quiet room flickering with tension. The lower east. That wing was colder and darker than the administrative floors. Idran's boots echoed softly on the reinforced stone walkway as he followed Prince William down a narrow corridor lined with old portraits of past archivists and former master record keepers. A security checkpoint appeared ahead. A guard at the station bowed respectfully as William approached. Your Highness, Sergeant, we require access to the Crown server logs, William said. The guard entered his clearance code and unlocked the heavy steel door. Beyond it lay the palace's internal communications hub, a chamber of blinking lights, subtle mechanical hums, and towering data racks neatly arranged like soldiers. Idran stepped inside and immediately felt the room's weight. Everything here stored history. Every recorded message, every security feed, every digital audit and encrypted key. The palace trusted these machines more than it trusted people. William gestured toward a protected terminal. Use that one. Idran approached the console and entered his clearance credentials. A soft beep confirmed authorization. The screen lit up with rows of encrypted data, timestamps, and communication tags. William stood behind him. Begin with the mirror. Log of this device. Idran typed several commands until a screen filled with mirrored message archives from Camilla's phone. He selected the most recent set. A new window opened. What he saw made the blood in his veins. Still, William leaned closer. What is it? Idran zoomed the log. Sir, he said slowly, the deletion commands were not initiated by Miss Linton. William straightened. Then who? Idran highlighted the command trail. These instructions came from an unregistered access point inside the palace network. William's jaw tightened. Location. Idran isolated the signal. His breath slowed with each line of data that decoded. Lower North Wing, Idran said. Near the old archive rooms? That area is restricted. William's eyes narrowed. Restricted to everyone except senior archivists and the Queen's highest level aides. Idran tapped the log again. The system displayed one more detail. A user code and access signature. A short, unmistakable authorization key belonging to someone who should never, under protocol, touch a senior royal's personal device. Idran stared at the code. Sir, he said quietly, the system shows that the backup logs were accessed 3 times this morning. The signature belongs to someone inside Camilla's own administrative circle. William leaned closer. Which one? Idran exhaled slowly. Her senior communications advisor. William closed his eyes for one brief moment, absorbing the weight of the discovery. Then he turned sharply and spoke with absolute clarity. Sergeant Whitam, this matter has just shifted from a simple privacy concern to a breach of trust at the highest level. We need to speak with that advisor immediately. Idran nodded. Yes, sir. But the screen blinked. A new alert appeared at the bottom. A fresh command had been executed only seconds earlier. Someone inside. The palace was still accessing the backups. Someone was watching in real time. Someone knew exactly what they were doing right now. William stared at the screen. They know we are here. Idran stepped back, suddenly aware of the cold air tightening around them. This was no longer accidental. No longer confusion. No longer a simple misunderstanding. This was deliberate. Someone was trying to control the truth, and the guard who saw the first message had now stepped into something far bigger than he could have imagined. The temperature inside the lie? Server room dropped the moment the alert flashed across the screen. Sergeant Idran Whitam felt it settle across his shoulders like a silent warning. Prince William stared at the blinking red indicator, his jaw setting firmly as the alert repeated. Unauthorized access. Active source. Internal terminal, lower north, WIAGS. Someone inside the palace was still pulling at the threads of the same message chain Idran had discovered earlier. Someone who knew exactly what Camilla's device contained. Someone who had no permission to be anywhere near those logs. William turned sharply. We move now. Idran followed immediately. The guard at the security door straightened as they passed. The prince's voice carried authority that held no room for delay. Once outside the server room, Idran spoke. "Sir, if the advisor is operating from the lower north wing, he has direct access to the historical terminals." Whitam nodded. "Exactly. That wing houses devices connected to older archive systems. Those terminals bypass newer encryption layers. Only 2 people have clearance to use them." Idran paused. "The advisor and the chief archivist?" William's expression did not change, but his eyes hardened. "And the chief archivist is out of the country." Meant there was only one possibility. They moved quickly, boots striking the stone floors with sharp purpose. As they passed under the vaulted arches, Idran noticed guards shifting posture, sensing something they could not name. Windsor Castle had its own way of feeling alive. Today, it felt as if every corner held its breath. The lower north wing doors were closed, guarded by 2 senior footmen who bowed. Whitam spoke first. "Has anyone entered this wing in the last hour?" The first footman glanced at a register. "Only the advisor, sir." Whitam nodded once. "Open the door." As the heavy doors swung inward, the flickering lights of the old archive corridor illuminated the narrow hall. Idran stepped inside with Whitam. Dusty portraits lined the walls, their gilded frames dimmed by age. At the far end of the hallway, faint glow shone beneath a half-open office door. Whitam moved silently, Idran matching his steps. When they reached the open door, Whitam gestured for Idran to take point. Idran entered first. The room smelled faintly of old paper, machine oil, and something else, nervous sweat. The senior communications advisor, Edwin Marsh, sat before an antique computer terminal with the server access window still open on the screen. He looked up sharply. His face drained of color. "Your Highness," Edwin stammered, standing immediately. "I did not expect." Whitam held up the phone. "Explain this." Edwin's eyes flicked toward the device, then to Idran, then back to Whitam. Panic raced across his features. "Your Highness, please. This is a misunderstanding." Idran stepped forward. "Your access signature was detected in the backup logs. You entered the message archives." Edwin shook his head too quickly. "I only checked. I never intended." William's voice cut through the room like glass. "You accessed Her Majesty's personal correspondence without authorization. That is a breach of strict internal protocol." Edwin swallowed hard. "Your Highness, if you allow me, I can explain why." "Then explain," Whitam said. Edwin ran a trembling hand through his hair. "Her Majesty's messages. They concerned someone close to the family. Someone who came to her in confidence. Someone who feared that certain personal matters might be used against them. I only wanted to ensure that no one could manipulate those messages." Idran watched him closely. Every twitch, every blink. Edwin was nervous, yes, but he was not lying. Not fully. Whitam crossed his arms. "Why did you not bring this concern to internal coordination?" Edwin hesitated. "Because I feared an assessment would escalate the issue. I wanted to protect Her Majesty." Idran spoke evenly. "You tried to delete the logs." Edwin closed his eyes. His shoulders sagged. "Yes, I did. Because once the messages entered the system logs, I knew they would be reviewed. And I feared they would be misunderstood." Whitam stepped closer. "Then why not tell the truth?" Edwin looked up at him with exhausted eyes. "Because truth can be dangerous when people want to use it for their own gain." Silence filled the room. Old machines hummed faintly. The dust floating through the air appeared to hang still. Edwin continued, voice cracking slightly. "Your Highness, 2 days ago, someone approached me. Someone I should not name without your permission. They hinted that they knew about Her Majesty's messages. They encouraged me to manage the logs. They said if I cooperated, the matter would disappear." Idran straightened. "Who was this person?" Edwin shook his head. "I cannot say." Whitam stepped forward, his voice calm but unshakably firm. "You will say—" Edwin swallowed again. He hesitated, staring down at the old stone floor beneath his feet. It was another member of staff, someone with influence, someone who has been quietly shaping narratives inside the palace. Idran felt a cold tension ripple through the room. "Name," William commanded. Idran whispered it. A name Idran did not expect. A name that should never have been involved. A name that held enough influence to reshape stories inside the palace walls. Idran froze. William's jaw tightened before either could respond. The hallway lights flickered. A second alert buzzed. From the old terminal screen, someone else is accessing the backups. Another signature. Another user. William stared at the screen. "There's another person involved," he said quietly. Idran stepped toward the door. The investigation had just doubled. And now they were not hunting one breach. They were hunting two. The old archive room suddenly felt smaller, tighter, filled with a tension that Idran Whitam could feel pressing against his uniform. Prince William stepped closer to the ancient terminal as the second alert blinked again, its red glow spilling across the advisor's pale face. A second user, another breach. Another person diving into the same secret. William's voice lowered into a calm, steady tone that held more force than any shout. "Edwin, you will tell us everything you know. Now." Edwin Marsh stood frozen, breath shallow, eyes darting between Idran and the terminal. He looked like a man who had been running from truth for years and had finally reached the wall. "There are two signatures," Idran said softly, reading the screen again. "Your access code was used earlier today, but the second user is active right now." William leaned closer. "Identify the second signature." Edwin opened his mouth. "Your Highness, this may not be someone you expect. And if their name becomes involved, everything inside this household will change." William's expression did not shift. Name Edwin hesitated. His hands trembled. The room held its breath. "It is someone who has influence over public narratives. Someone who manages perception. Someone with access to communication strategies at the highest levels." Idran felt the answer before he heard it. A cold understanding slid into place. Edwin finally spoke the name. The senior royal media director. Idran's heart dropped. That position handled interviews, press management, narrative shaping, crisis response. But it did not have rights to personal backups. It did not have access to private family communications, and it absolutely did not have permission to override encryption protocols for a senior. Royal. William absorbed the name with a slow breath. He managed external press relations for years. Why would he access internal messages? Edwin's voice cracked. Because he wants control. Not of security. Not of threats. Of stories. Idran's stomach tightened. Stories? Edwin nodded. He believes that the monarchy must remain flawless. He wants to protect the institution, by controlling which truths reach the outside world. He said personal messages are dangerous. He believes emotional vulnerability is a weakness. He wanted anything sensitive removed before they became part of the narrative. William's voice grew colder. Sensitive messages are not a threat. Manipulating them is. Edwin continued, voice breaking under the weight of his confession. He told me that he has been monitoring several internal exchanges for months. Anything he saw as harmful, he tried to shape or suppress. Idran sensed the shift in William's posture. The prince's calm expression concealed something deeper. Nous, something protective. Something resolute. He turned to Idran. "Sergeant, we must intercept him before he finishes whatever he is accessing." "Yes, sir." Edwin stepped forward in panic. "Your Highness, please understand. He will not stop. He believes this is his duty." William shook his head. Duty does not destroy truth. Duty protects it. Idran moved toward the corridor when suddenly the ancient terminal beeped again. A new message flashed across the screen. "Access terminated. User has logged out. Files altered. 3 files deleted. 2 files transferred." William stared at the screen. He has taken something. Idran's chest tightened. A file was transferred. That means it was sent to an external device. Edwin's voice cracked. "We must locate him. If he has the messages..." William cut him off with a raised hand. We find him before he releases anything." They left the old archive room with fast, purposeful strides, Idran leading the way. The palace hallways echoed with urgency now. Guards straightened as they passed. Footmen pressed themselves against the wall. Even the portraits seemed to watch with widened eyes. Idran and Whitam turned down the main corridor toward the media offices. Halfway down the hall, Idran saw a figure standing at the far end. A tall man in a navy suit. Calm posture. Polished shoes. Hands clasped behind him as if waiting. The senior royal media director. He was not running. He was not hiding. He was waiting for them. Whitam approached with steady steps. "You accessed the Queen consort's backups." The director tilted his head. "I accessed what threatened stability, Your Highness." William's voice remained quiet but forceful. "It is not your place to decide what is a threat." The director smiled faintly. "Your family carries great influence. One misinterpreted word, one emotional message, and the press will turn it into a storm. I only prevented that." Idran stepped forward. "You deleted files. You altered logs. I corrected weaknesses," the director replied calmly. "That is my role." Whitam shook his head slowly. "Your role is to support the crown, not manipulate its truth." The director's expression hardened. "Truth is a luxury. Perception is power." Idran took one step closer, voice unshaking. "Hand over the external device you transferred the file to." The director reached into his inner pocket and pulled out a small encrypted drive. For a moment, it seemed he might hand it over, but then he held it above his palm and said, "Some things must be protected for the greater good." William's voice turned cold as steel. Sergeant Idran moved with the precision of a seasoned guard. He reached the director, seized the hand, and removed the drive in one controlled motion. The director did not resist. He simply watched. "You think you have saved this family?" Whitam said quietly. "But you have only endangered its integrity." The director bowed his head slightly. "You will understand one day, sir. I acted with loyalty." Whitam responded with a final sentence that settled across the corridor like a weight.
"Our loyalty without truth is not loyalty.
It is fear." Later that evening, the Queen, Whitam, Idran, and the palace's senior security officials reviewed the entire situation. The messages were restored from deeper backups. Nothing harmful existed. Only emotional honesty. Only compassion. Only humanity. Camilla thanked Idran personally. "You protected my truth," she said. "Not by hiding it, but by honoring it. You have shown what real loyalty means." Whitam placed a hand on Idran's shoulder. "Sergeant Whitam, you did not uncover a scandal. You uncovered the values this family must never lose." Idran bowed his head. He felt something he had not expected. Pride, purpose, and the quiet certainty that truth, no matter how delicate, must never be shaped by fear. The phone had been left on a bench, but what Idran found was a reminder the monarchy needed. Integrity is the final guard, and today it stood in red. If you believe truth must always be protected, tell us where you are watching from. Like the video, if the Royal Guard earned your respect. Subscribe to Guard Watch for more powerful royal stories.